I'm just thinking about how many things I am blessed for in my life. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes so we can kind of ruminate about that thought, about all the blessings that are in our lives. I invite you to breathe in for the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And hold it for 3. And release it for 3. Breathe in. Hold. Release. One more time. Breathe in. Hold. And release. And just tell your soul all those things that you feel blessed for. That you do have clean water to drink, and you have plenty of food to eat, and a sense of belonging in your spiritual community, your beautiful family, your friends. The air here in Alpine smells so fresh and wonderful. All the great qualities, all the divine qualities of your life. And with an open and grateful heart, I invite you to come back into the room. It was very heart-opening, that song. Thank you very much, Peter. It does. It just opens your heart to think about all the wonderful things that we have in our life. I feel like crying right now. Life is so good, and there's so much beauty and grace and abundance and a lot of love and joy. So, it all started during the pandemic. The School of Leadership offered classes on how to facilitate on Zoom. And I heard a little bit of chatter about the power of 8 that I'd never experienced before. And then I had a friend that called me for a spiritual healing. And I asked him, hey, do you think you and your wife would like to join a Zoom class on the power of 8? I really don't know what I'm doing, but, and he said yes. And I had like 10 people on that call. After that class was done, I was blown away. I couldn't believe how powerful it was and how connected I felt to everyone. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to open up a second class. So I opened up a second class, and for 2 years, I had a Power of 8 class on Tuesdays and one on Thursdays. And there was nothing but magic and miracles that occurred during that time. But then afterwards, I really felt like I needed to get it out in the world, and I took it to the spiritual centers in my area, and it's just been a beautiful experience. Matter of fact, Lynn McMacken, who's the author of The Power of 8, she is from New Jersey, but she married a man in London. And so she's British, and she was having a workshop around The Power of 8, and they had a few spots open. So I raised my hand to go to London, and I got in, and I just got back last week. And it was an amazing experience. As a matter of fact, I never saw Ireland, never saw Scotland, but while I was in London, in the workshop, the day before I left, Her Majesty the Queen passed away. Could not believe it. I was like, wow, I am here for this monumental moment. So like even in the subway, this is a picture of her in the subway that I took with my camera. Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, she served for 70 years. And the first thing I did, I had my hotel, thank God, because I'm thinking all the rates doubled and tripled. The first thing I did is I bought flowers and I went down to the palace. But there was droves of people going down to the palace, as you had seen, getting off at Green Park. And many children wrote beautiful letters to the Queen. And I couldn't believe this feeling of connection I felt like in this undivided country. And I'm sure there's people that are not royalists, but they weren't picketing. I mean, everyone was so in love with her and so full of gratitude and reverence for the service that she gave. And I'm thinking to myself, now why is it, again, when I got home, how did I get there at that time in that space reality? And it came to me that, the power of 8 is about connection and it is about service. I thought, wow, this is why I was there, to really have that. It was great to be in a country where no one was divided in that moment. And they were in shock because they knew that she was going to pass soon, so it wasn't like Princess Diane. But, so Lynn McTaggart, she is not a spiritual leader. She's actually a journalist. And she's one of those people that studies consciousness, and she's a scientist. So all her followers, they all love consciousness study, and they all love to study science. They just forgot to pour in God. Right? But it's interesting, through her experiment of the power of 8, she unveiled a mystical practice. So in the power of 8, what happens when you're together and her question was, can a collective group of people think the same thought and move that thought, move the intention? So we know in religious science, in New Thought, that your thoughts create your reality on an individual level. We also know that what happens on the individual level happens on the collective level. So it's a universal law that when collective people come together and they think a thought, that thought is going to move. But because she had to have it proven through science, she's got the colleges and the scientists and everyone together. And she did like peace intention experiments on a huge level. She would go to Damascus Gate in Israel, and they would pray for peace between the Jewish people and the Arabic people. And they would have them online when they were intending for 10 minutes. And then she would invite the world. About 15,000 people would go online and they would join the peace intention experiment. So what happened when they were done with this 10-minute intention, the Jewish people looked at the Arabic people, and they said, your God is my God. And the Arabic people looked at the Jewish people and said, we are brothers and sisters. We are connected. We are one. And then the violence around Damascus Gate lowered, I think, like 20% that day. So she had done many, many experiments. But the most interesting part, when she surveyed the people that were doing the intending, the people that were practicing altruism, the people who were serving, there were massive, unexpected changes in their life. They were saying, oh my God, I felt like I was in a mystical union with all of life. Someone said, I felt like I'm connected, like I'm in a divine cocoon of love. I felt like I'm one with everyone in the universe. People were saying that they felt kinder towards people, kinder towards humanity. When they would see humanity on the street, they would think, I wish you a long and happy life. It's like their attitude changed. But not only that, other things were happening. They were having healings, physical healings. Their relationships were healing, and they were coming into soul alignment of what should be happening in their life and how it should be expressed. It was a mystical practice that was unveiled that she didn't even know was going to happen. So this is the book called The Power of 8, Harnessing the Miraculous Energies of a Small Group to Heal Others, Our Life, and the World. So the story is about the miraculous power you hold within you or inside your life, which gets unleashed, ironically, the moment you stop thinking about yourself. So when you're in a group, a collective group, and everyone for 10 minutes has the same thought, the same thing at the one time, not only do you have that feeling of unity, but you also have demonstrations. It's practicing altruism. So what happens when we practice altruism? When we practice altruism, there's a vagus nerve that's in your body, throughout your whole body, and you release oxytocin. This is kind of like a happy drug, the joyful drug. When you do something for someone else, you feel very joyful. It also, you feel more gratitude. So if I think about, maybe the grass is greener on the other side, but then I visit India and I realize, wow, they don't have clean drinking water and they don't have food to eat. My life isn't that bad. I'm very grateful and I feel very blessed. And and it directs you from your own problems. When you're having a problem in your life and you start thinking about somebody else, you kind of release that problem in your life, and it gets healed. It's about that concept of think of God instead. When you have a problem, just think about God instead. And when you think about God, everything unfolds beautifully. So this is the magic and the miracles of the power of 8. What is the magic and the miracles of the power of 8? The magic is that when you come together as one, as a collective consciousness, and everyone is thinking the same thought at the same time, you have that mystical feeling of oneness. Okay, so like in the loving, so if you hold a loving kindness intention and you have that focus, there is a, of course, the McTaggart is a science. She likes science, so she had a scientist measure the brain waves where the frontal lobe is lower and the gamma brainwave kicks in. And the gamma brainwave is an oceanic feeling of oneness. So you experience the gamma brainwave. One of my favorite demonstrations, she went to Mile High Church. Mile High is a New Thought church in Denver, Colorado, one of the largest ones in the United States. And she talked about the power of 8, and she also did a power of 8 demonstration. So she had circles all over, about 10, 20 circles, because there's a lot of people there. And one girl in a circle, she was a dancer, but she was in a wheelchair. She was a young dancer. I don't know her background story. I did see it on YouTube. And they decided they were going to have a healing for this dancer. So when they were intending for her, they saw her how she wanted to be seen. They saw her jumping and leaping and gravitating and doing everything that she loved to do. And then afterwards, Lynn had everyone stand up who was intended for to give their experience. And one of the people in her circle went to go help her stand up, and she was like, I don't need any help. It was very magical. It was a all of a sudden, in the moment demonstration. Intending as a group creates an ecstasy of unity, a palpable sense of oneness. Now we know, as a scientist, that when we do a scientific 5-step prayer, that's what you do, right, Hugh? Step 1 is God is all there is. Step 2 is I am one with God, right? Then when you bring the relative into the absolute is when you have a healing. And that's exactly what is happening. The relative is moving into the absolute, and that's where the healing occurs. So when Lynn was with us last week, she was telling us that she went to a workshop, and there was a woman in the workshop. I mean, she was a guest in the workshop, and she taught a power of 8. There was a woman who was pregnant, and she was about to have the baby, but the baby's feet was at the bottom of the belly. And if the baby didn't turn around, she was going to have a cesarean. So they did a collective group intention that the baby would turn around by Wednesday. If not, she would have a cesarean. On that Wednesday, Lynn was with us, and she told us that she got the phone call, that she went to the doctors, and the baby turned around, and the head was at the bottom. It's like a tuning fork. Intention appears to be something akin to a tuning fork, causing the tuning forks of other things to the universe to resonate at the same frequency. So the baby is hearing a call from the collective group. Dr. Sean O'Lear is a Irish Catholic priest. He's a personal psychologist, and he wanted to do a focus group on whether, if you pray for people who have anxiety and depression and mood swings, could they be healed? So in San Francisco, he put out an ad in the paper to see if anyone would be willing to join this focus group. And he received 409 participants. 90 of those participants said that they would be willing to be the one doing the praying. So he trained them. He trained them in prayer and intention and in visualization. The result of the focus group was that each and every person in the group, on an objective and subjective level, on a physical and a mental level, they all improved. But as he looked closer at the group, he realized that the people that were doing the praying, the more they prayed, the more they improved. The people that were being prayed for, they stopped at a certain level. So he was shocked to discover this. And so the conclusion that he came up with was that the compounding interest in your bank account depends on the amount you pray for others. Right. Do you have practitioners here? Okay, everyone sign up for practitioner training. It's really a beautiful experience to pray for other people. So this is really, okay, this is it. This is like the golden key. If you want to have a Power of 8 group, this is the only thing you have to do. It doesn't matter how you facilitate it. This is the only thing you have to do with your group. It's called homothumadon. And it's mentioned in the book of Acts in the Bible like 10 times. And this is the way that Jesus taught his disciples how to pray. Striking the same note, with one mind and with passion, unanimously, harmoniously, and continuously. Unanimously, harmoniously, and continuously. Unanimously, harmoniously, and continuously. Like all minds have to move together as one for the 10 minutes. And that's when anything is subject to be healed. The person that you're intending for, or anything in your life. You get into that collective group of oneness, and anything can be healed if you practice homothumadon. So during the pandemic, I had friends that were going to have surgery. I mean, I think about 4 or 5 of them. And they came to me and I said, you know, let's do a Power of 8 for you. So we would, you know, when you're going to have a surgery, if you've ever had that experience, there's a lot of fear in your life. You feel a little disconnected to your family, your friends. Am I going to make it? Will this happen? Will I come out okay? I mean, there's so much. If anyone's going to have surgery here, please connect with me and I will do this for you. I mean, there's so much fear around it. But when you are done with that Power of 8 group, you are so in love with life, with yourself, with your friends, with the doctor. You're so connected in your oneness that it comes out to be extremely successful. So I wanted to say it's a wonderful practice for one who's about to have surgery. Dr. Sean O'Leary quotes, "When people are involved in a passionate activity like a healing circle, they transmute from a solitary voice into a thunderous symphony." So I'll tell you about just a recent demonstration in one of my Power of 8s. We're getting together for the 3rd time, and the lady's name was Betty. Okay, and it's like, okay, Betty, it's your turn. We're gonna attend for you. What would you like? She's like, well, my knee hurts. Okay, so we'll have an intention around your knee. Well, no, not really. My boss. Okay, so what's going on with your boss? Well, you see, my boss is a multimillionaire, and I am the executor of his estates, and he's given all his money to National Rifles Association. She said, I can't sleep at night. Oh, Patty, you know, we can't really get into his consciousness, but we know who can. We can give it up to God, you know. So we had our intention for Betty. So this is the thing, it's not my intention or Betty's intention, it's the collective group, right? Our intention for Betty, that's the capsule. Betty rests in the loving embrace, faith, and trust in God, knowing that God is in charge of Dan's estates. And how does Betty want to feel? Betty is at peace. Okay, so the intention, we're all done. How do you feel, Betty? Well, my knee doesn't hurt. Okay, well, that's great. So you go home and we pray for her, yeah. And we mention her intention in our prayer work, and we say, divine love is harmonizing and healing our Power of 8 group now. That's our little prayer that we say every single day for our group. Comes back, how'd your week go, babe? We always like to talk to the ones that we're intended for. She said, well, I went to my boss, and I said, you know, Dan, there's this other charity you might like better than NRA. Dan said, NRA, I don't like the directions they're going in. I'm not going to give them my money. And then she said, oh, by the way, I called the hospital and I canceled my knee surgery. It was great. We got a double-decker on that one. So, now, during the pandemic, I was donating $25 a month to Save a Child because I went to India a while back ago, and I was watching TV. I don't watch TV much, but I realized that India was truly suffering during the pandemic because the day laborers were not allowed to work. And they would literally beat you if you went on the street. So the families were suffering, and their starvation started to set in. Save a Child is a foundation that's out of Orange County, San Diego area. For $25 a month, that feeds a family of 5 for a month, okay? I can do that. In the back of my head, I should send them more, but that's just what was happening in that moment. In October of last year, our Power Bank group took a break, and I decided to go to Denver. And what happened is I turned around, drove 12 hours straight to spend the last 5 minutes with my mother, because my mother died of COVID-19. It was really sad because she was a healthy woman and we just didn't expect it to happen. But this is my mom when I got ordained, and it's going to be a year pretty soon, so it's kind of sad not to have her right now. So I called up Save a Child and I said, I didn't call them, I wrote them a check for $1,500. And I just said, you know what, this is in honor of my mother passing away. And I received a phone call from them saying, you gave us enough money, almost at $1,700, to donate a well in a remote area of India, and that's right here in Odisha. It's right off the Bengal Bay on the eastern side, where they are multi-dimensionally impoverished in that area. And I was like, wow, that's great. So I donated this well, and I was so excited when I received it. I wanted to quote I put a quote from Yogananda in India and say thought they'd be inspired when they go to the well. The only thing is they don't speak English, so they couldn't read it. So then my girlfriend had passed away like a month later, and she was in our Power of 8 groups. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to donate one in her honor because she was a real humanitarian. So I donated, and I created it with Save a Child. I wanted it to be a gratitude well. So when they go to the well to get their water, they read in Hindi, "My cup overflows with gratitude." And we know, as New Thought people, that think words of gratitude, say words of gratitude, speak, practice words of gratitude. You have more love, more joy, more good in your life. And so this was the gratitude well for Susie. And I was just so darn excited when this was the oxytocin flowing through my body. I put it on my Facebook, on my MailChimp. I took it to my Power of 8 group because I wanted to surprise them because Susie was in that group. Before I got off the call, someone zelled me $1,700 and said, I want a well for my sister who passed away of cancer. And that was it. It was like a runaway train of people were donating wells for India. This was her who donated. How grateful it is to spend not a lot of American dollars to provide a legacy of fresh water for an entire village. And then here was hers for her sister. You can see that clean water coming out of the pump. How beautiful. They usually have to walk like a mile just to go get their water. And then they put it in these 5-gallon buckets and put it on their head and have to walk a mile or so back. There's the gratitude well was born. I don't think I'm going to show the movie. And then here's a girl I met on the Camino. She bought one for her parents. But they were literally drinking dirty water that has bugs in it. Here's her well that came up for her parents. And a couple good friends of mine in Encinitas, and here's the well for their parents.
You have heard from their mouth how they were struggling to get the clean water and how was their pleasant experience. This is for our Seva Child donor. He should get this honor, but he is not here, but his presence is here. This belongs to our Seva Child donor. So we are very much thankful for honoring us and giving this tube for our Seva Child donor. They are very much thankful that for this tube, so we are also very much thankful. On behalf of them, I just would like to say thanks to our Seva Child donor. Thank you.
And he is the administrator on the other side, finding the places to do the wells, and he's putting the projects together. He's doing everything. He's a beautiful man, and everyone gets an inauguration video. That's part of their inauguration video. And here's another one that was recently done. I thought it was beautifully decorated. And so really the basic story of the Power of 8 is, the miraculous power you hold inside to heal your own life, which gets unleashed, ironically, the moment you stop thinking about yourself. Thank you very much.